A few years ago, there was a story in the news. There was a child out of Pittsburgh who was born with no eyelids. It was a really terrible situation. It got global attention. Surgeons from around the world got together and were figuring, how can we help this poor child? So they decided to graft new eyelids from the child's foreskin. It was a huge success. It was amazing. The only complication now, the child is just a little cockeyed.
Back in my day, kids were given a pacifier and a lead-based rattle to play with. Oh, and if it snowed, you still went outside. You put a pair of socks on your hands. Yeah, these kids nowadays, they fall out the womb demanding your passcode for your debit card and or your credit card. They demand your password for your phone, Netflix, YouTube, and they will come in your house and rearrange all your wiring, to the point you may actually need a degree to get it back to the point where you had it before they came. The saga continues.
Okay, so here we go. First day of school, teacher says, all right, I want you to stand up and tell me what you did during summer vacation and what you learned by doing it. So little Tiffany stands up and she says, well, my grandmother has a farm, and what I did was I collected money from people and I was going to sell them chickens, and because she raises chickens. So she says what happened was I collected this money and I got all the eggs and none of the eggs hatched. Teacher said, well, what'd you learn? She said, well, I learned you never count your chickens before they're hatched. Next little girl says, well, my grandmother also has a farm, and what I decided to do was I was going to take the eggs and dye them. I make dyed eggs for people, and at that point, I was going to sell them the dyed eggs. The teacher said, well, what happened? She says, well, I went to the hen house, I got all the eggs, and I put them in the basket, as I was skipping back to my grandmother's house, I tripped and I fell, and all the eggs broke. Teacher said, well, what'd you learn? She said, well, I learned you never put all your eggs in one basket. So little Timmy stands up and says, well, I didn't go anywhere, but I heard a story about Vietnam. He said, my father was surrounded by 50,000 of the enemy, and all he had was a gun with one bullet in it, a bottle of wine, and a knife. Teacher said, well, what happened? He says, well, my father, he shot the first one, then he drank that bottle of wine, then he stabbed the other 49,999 to death with that knife. Teacher said, well, Timmy, I guess you learned you shouldn't lie. He said, nope, I learned you never mess with my father when he's been drinking.
One day, McTavish and McMurphy were playing golf, and McTavish went up first, hit the ball, nice shot right down the middle of the fairway. And McMurphy, it was his turn, and just as he was about to tee off, this beautiful white horse, this mare, just came and stopped right in the middle of the fairway. And so he waited, and McTavish said, Christ, man, hit the ball. And McMurphy said, hit the ball, I might hurt that poor beautiful beast. And McTavish says, I have never hit a ball that far in your life. Get up there and give it a whack. So McMurphy lines it up, hits the best tee shot of his life, sails right down, starts to rise up, boom, hits the horse, and straight between the eyes, knocks him over. McMurphy is beside himself. He drops his club. He starts running down the middle of the fairway. He gets to the horse. He's holding the horse in his arms. The horse's head. McTavish comes up and said, think of the bright side, man. McMurphy says, the bright side? How could there possibly be a bright side? I've just killed this poor beautiful beast. McTavish says, aye, you've done that. But if he was facing about the other way, I might never have got your ball back.
I am the oldest of 5. I grew up in the 70s. There was no Taco Bell, there was no Burger King, there was no Wawa, and the nearest McDonald's was like 15 miles away, and you got dressed up to go to McDonald's. My poor sister was a finicky eater. She didn't like anything. I promise you, 1976 was not a good time to be a finicky eater. She didn't like her food touching. She didn't like meat if it had a bone in it. She didn't like meat if it had skin on it. She didn't like anything. She didn't eat. The poor thing was on the brink of starvation. Didn't nobody care. It was 1970. It was wild, wild times, okay? Wasn't no child protective services. Didn't nobody care. The girl was malnutritioned. My sister was literally anorexic. Nobody cared. It was 1976. I said, the saga continues.
Why did the Germans lose the war? Well, because they were unlucky, of course.
Is parenting hard, they ask. They ask, is parenting hard? Are you kidding me? It's so much fun. Let me tell you, I took about half an hour to get my kid dressed and shoes on just to get into the car to go to the store for, milk and eggs, basics. Drive about 20 minutes to the store. We're having a good time. We're singing Baby Shark, do 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 do. We get to the store. It's kind of crazy because it's a holiday week, so it takes me a couple minutes to find a parking space. Finally pull in. We're still singing do 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 do. Put it in park and fast asleep. Is parenting hard? There goes my day. Fast asleep. Is parenting hard? Yeah, parenting's hard.
Here are some more animal jokes, starting with a mouse joke. So, what do we call an unknown mouse? Anonymouse. Can you guess why giraffes are so slow to apologise? Because it takes them a long time to swallow their pride. So here's a birthday/party joke. Why did the owl invite his friends over? Because he didn't want to be all by himself. So here's a slightly spooky joke, given that Halloween is a month away. So, did you hear about the shark ghost? It vanished into thin air. Tell you what, I'll do another shark joke while we're here. Okay, so this is the last one. What do you call a dapper shark? Sophisticated.
Sometimes you gotta give advice to your kids. So I just give the advice that was passed down to me. Father told me, a hard head makes for a very soft ass. Don't you let your mouth write a check you can't cash. When you make your bed hard, that time it's cold trash. Now hug and kiss your mama when you think she feels sad. Your daddy came home late, drunk as a skunk. You should be happy that your daddy came home, punk. Cause a hard head make for a very soft ass. Don't you let your mouth write a check you can't cash. When you make your bed hard, nap time is cold trash. Now go and kiss your mama when you think she feels sad. Your daddy came home late, drunk as a skunk. You should be happy that your daddy came home, punk. Cause a hard head make for a very soft ass. Don't you let your mouth write a check you can't cash. That's what I'm telling Nick.
I said the joke's on you. I said the joke's on you. I said the joke's on you. Hey! I said the joke's on you. Hey! You got the sheep boot, we got a joke. You got the sheep boot, we got a joke. You got the sheep boot, we got a joke. Hey! 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 I said the joke's on you. Hey! I said the joke's on you. Hey! Hey! I said the joke to come through. Hey! Hey! I said we about to come through. Oh, millionaires in the booth. Oh, and the joke's on you. Hey, millionaires in the booth. Joke's on you.